Have you ever imagined that your biggest challenge can hide your greatest talent? Today, I will tell the incredible story of an autistic boy who was humiliated by an arrogant teacher, but eventually revealed an extraordinary gift that no one expected. The air in the Willow Creek High auditorium was loaded, like tinnitus before a storm. Student rows rummaging in the chairs, their whispers echoing under the fluorescent lights. Ahead, a tail piano shone, its polished surface reflecting the stage spotlight. Eli Carter, 17, was behind the scenes, his fingers drumming in the sewing of jeans. Her heart was beating hard, not because of the crowd, but by the weight of Professor Harold Vance's mocking smile, visible even in the dim. Eli knew scrutiny well. Diagnosed with autism at the age of 5, he had grown by sailing a world that looked like a puzzle with missing pieces. Numbers, however, made sense. Equations danced in his mind, each a symphony of logic. Music, on the other hand, was a foreign language he never wanted to learn. Still, there he was, about to play the piano at the annual show of school talents, not on his own will, but by coercion. Vance, the music teacher, was known for destroying spirits under the pretext of discipline. He had chosen Eli weeks earlier after hearing him calculate the auditorium acoustics in seconds during a physics class. "A genius, is it?" Vance mocked. "Let's see if you can handle something really like music." The challenge was a trap, full of malice. Vance knew that Eli had no musical training. The plan was simple: forcing Eli to present himself, see him fail, and humiliate the weird math in front of the school. Eli's mother, Clara, begged him to refuse. Solo mother and nurse, she knew the impact that a public failure could have on her son. But Eli, stubborn and quietly challenging, agreed to play. "Not because I wanted to, but because you saw something that Vance didn't see. A pattern, a possibility." He spent the last 3 weeks in the school's music room alone, learning piano through logic, not feeling. He decomposed sheet music in mathematical sequences, memorizing keys as coordinates. For him, it was not music, it was code. Now, while Vance introduced him with a condescending flourish, "Our resident calculator trying to art," Eli took the stage. The laughs of the audience hurt, but he concentrated on the piano. His 88 keys were a grid, a system he could dominate. He sat down, the rigid stance, and positioned his fingers. The silence took the auditorium. Vance leaned against the wall, arms crossed, waiting for the disaster. But when Eli's fingers moved, something unexpected happened. Sonata's first notes to Beethoven's Moonlight echoed, accurate and amazing. The crowd has quiet. Eli's touch was not emotional. It was mechanical, almost alien in its perfection. Each note sounded with the accuracy of a metronome, but there was a strange beauty in its clarity. Whites spread. Vance's smile has faltered. Eli's mind was not with music, but with numbers. He visualized the score as a chart. Each wakes up a point in a curve. He did not feel the melody. He calculated her. And then, in the middle of the play, he did something bold. He deflected from Beethoven, inserting his own sequence. A fractal pattern that obsessed him translated into sound. The notes spinned, dissonant, but mesmerizing, as a storm unfolding. The audience was fascinated, but Eli didn't notice. He was lost in his creation, oblivious to the figure he was watching from the bottom of the auditorium, a dark coat stranger, writing furiously in a notebook. When Eli ended, the final grade hovering in the air, the auditorium exploded in applause. Vance's face was a shock mask. Eli got up, inexpressive, and left the stage, leaving a single question in the air. What just happened? Willow Creek, a small town in New York, was the kind of place where ambitions would wither. His secondary school, a 70s brick building, was a reflection of the city's apathy. Groups dominated the runners, and teachers like Vance thrived in power games. The auditorium, with its faded red curtains and creepy chairs, was the stage of both dreams and cruelty. Eli sailed this world as a ghost. His autism made the social clues slippery, but his genius in mathematics and physics highlighted him. He spent the intervals in the library, outlining equations or reading about chaos theory. His only friend, Maya Torres, an insightful freshman with dreams of being a journalist, understood him better than most. She was in the audience, squeezing her notebook, divided between pride and anger at Vance's blow. Clara, Eli's mother, was her safe haven. Working bench shifts at the local hospital, She carried the weight of raising a talented child alone. She had fought Eli's accommodation at school, but Vance's influence, reinforced by her ownership and charm with the school council, made her powerless. His love for Eli was fierce, as well as his fear that he would be crushed by a world that did not understand him. Vance, in turn, was a man feeding old wounds. A frustrated pianist in youth, he had conformed to teaching, his bitterness becoming cruelty. Eli's presentation was not just a surprise, it was a personal affront. He saw Eli's talent as a mockery of his own failures, and was not willing to let it pass. The strange of coat was Dr. Lillian Hayes, a MIT neuroscientist studying savant syndromes. She had come to Willow Creek following rumors of a prodigy, alerted by a physics teacher who had sent Eli, mathematics but transcendent, confirmed her suspicions. She believed that Eli's mind was the key to new cognition theories, but her interest was not purely academic. His financing depended on results, and Eli was his chance. Behind the scenes, Maya cornered Eli. "You didn't tell me you knew how to do that," she said, wide eyes. Eli shrugged, uncomfortable with attention. "It's just standards," he murmured. But Maya felt something bigger. She had also noticed the stranger, and her reporter instincts were on alert. "Someone is watching you, Eli. This is not over." At home, Clara was waiting, her face mixing relief and worry. "You were amazing," he said, pulling him to a hug. Eli was tense but did not move away. "I don't want to do that again," he said. Clara nodded, but her instinct said it was just the beginning. While Eli locked in the room staring at her fractal sketches, a Maya message lit up her cell phone. "See the school forum. You're viral." On Monday, Eli's presentation was the subject of Willow Creek High. A trembling video posted on the school online forum accumulated thousands of views. The comments varied from admiration to skepticism. "Is this boy for real? Vance has been humiliated." But behind the compliments, there were darker chains. Anonymous posts called Eli aberration and accused him of pretending autism to draw attention. A post, scary in his accuracy, he said, "He thinks it's untouchable. Someone needs to give him a lesson." Eli tried to ignore, but the noise was inescapable. In the corridors, the students stared at him. Some greeted him, others whispered insults. Vance, humiliated by the video, redoubled the bet. In music class, he gave Eli an impossible task: compose an original piece for regional competition in 2 weeks. "Let's see if your trick was lucky," Vance mocked. The class laughed, but Eli's mind was already dismantling the challenge. Composing was not music, it was structure, logic. He could do that. Maya, in the meantime, investigated. She tracked the most cruel posts to an IP address linked to the school's music department. "It's Vance or one of his pupils," said Eli at lunch, his low voice. Eli frowned, her fingers hitting the table. "Why does he care so much?" asked. Maya had no answer, but she was determined to find out. Dr. Hayes made her movement that afternoon. He approached Eli after school, the extended card as a handshake. "His presentation was extraordinary," said, the tone eaten. "I want to study your process. You can change as we understand the brain." Eli blinked, suspicious. He didn't trust flattery, and Hayes's intensity bothered him. "I just want you to leave me alone," he said, leaving. Hayes watched him, impeding. She would get what she wanted, one way or another. At home, Clara noted Eli's tension. He drew obsessively fractals, his usual calm replaced by a restless energy. "Talk to me, Eli," he begged. He hesitated, then admitted, "I don't know why I played. I needed to." Clara's heart hurt. She saw his genius, but also his fragility. She contacted the director, demanding that Vance be punished, but the answer was evasive. Vance's ownership protected him, and the school board saw the presentation of Eli as a public relations victory. The conflict climbed when Eli's cabinet was vandalized, the word fraud scribbled in red paint. Maya photographed before the janitor cleaned, her boiling anger. "This is personal," said Eli. "We need evidence that Vance is behind it." Eli nodded, the accelerated mind. He didn't care about popularity, but hated being targeted. He started working in his composition, dumping his frustration on it. The play was chaotic, built in recursive standards that mirrored their thoughts. Late at night, Eli found an email from Hayes, offering paying a private tutor if he participated in his study. The offer was tempting, Vance's liberty, but it seemed like a collar. While staring at the screen, Another post appeared in the forum, with a picture of him coming out of Hayes's car. The caption said, "Genius or sold?" Eli's stomach plummeted. Someone was watching him and wanted him to know. Maya's investigation became a crusade. She recruited her cousin Javier, a veteran and genius of technology, to break into the forum's back end. Javier discovered a pattern. The hating posts coincided with Vance's schedules in the office. But there was a turnaround. Some came from a second account linked to a student, Tara Knowles, the pupil star Vance and pianist with a jealous end. Tara was overshadowed by Eli's presentation, and her resentment was palpable. Tara's subplot revealed her own struggles. Created by a demanding mother, she saw the music as her only departure from Willow Creek. Eli's sudden shine threatened his scholarship. In a heated moment, she confronted Vance, accusing him of letting Eli steal his spotlight. Vance, manipulator as usual, fed his paranoia, implying that Eli was cheating with technology. Tara, desperate, began to spread rumors, unaware that she was Vance's pawn. Clara's subplot revolved around her struggle to protect Eli. She met a lawyer, Sarah Nguyen, specializing in people with disabilities. Sarah warned that processing the school could be risky. Vance had allies on the board. Instead, he suggested that Clara document each incident. Clara began to maintain a meticulous record, her accuracy of a nurse turning a gun. But stress charged its price. She lost shifts, and the accounts accumulated. Dr. Hayes's reasons were darker. She was not just a scientist. He worked with a technology company, NeuroSync, who funded his research. NeuroSync saw the skills of Eli as an advance to AI. Hayes began attending school events, mixing himself, his notebook full of observations about Eli's behavior. Maya caught her once, taking a picture. "She's not just studying you," Maya said to Eli. "She's hunting you." Eli's composition became his refuge. He worked in the music room after office hours, his play evolving into something supernatural, a mixture of classic structure and mathematical chaos. One night he heard Tara practicing nearby, his technically impeccable but cold touch. She saw him and exploded. "You don't belong here." Eli, impassive, replied, "Not even your time. It's 0.3 seconds late." Tara came out furious, but her trust was shaken. The subtrums converged when Javier found a deleted post in the forum, a threat to sabotage Eli's presentation in the competition. She was tracked to Tara's cell phone. Maya wanted to confront her, but Eli hesitated. "She's scared," he said, recognizing her fear and her own. He didn't want revenge. "I wanted to finish what it had started." But when he left the music room, he noticed a slight chemical smell near the piano. His wrist accelerated. Someone had moved him. The regional competition was a week ago, and the world of Eli collapsed. Sabotage on the piano was subtle but devastating. Several keys were covered with a sticky, invisible but enough resin to disrupt a presentation. Eli discovered during a night practice her fingers crashing on the keys. He didn't report it, he had no evidence, and accusing Tara or Vance would only make things worse. Instead, he spent hours cleaning the piano, his sharp focus. The act calmed him, but also crystallized his determination. He was not playing to win, he was playing to prove something to himself. Maya's investigation had a breakthrough. She and Javier intercepted an email from Vance to Tara, vaguely written but compromising. "Make sure he doesn't shine too much." It was not enough for legal action, but it was a lever. Maya confronted Tara in the cafeteria, the low but fierce voice. "I know what you're doing. Or expose you." Tara's face collapsed, her bravado disappearing. "You don't understand," he whispered. "If I don't win, I get stuck here forever." Maya saw the despair, but did not give in. "So touch better. Don't cheat." Clara's efforts gained strength. Sarah, the lawyer, connected her with a local reporter, Dan Carver, hungry for a history about school corruption. Clara hesitated. Becoming public could make Eli a greater target. But Dan's questions about Vance's history revealed a pattern. Alumni accused him of bullying, but the complaints were drowned out. Clara accepted an interview, her firm voice when describing Eli's Calvary. The story would come out on the day of the competition. Dr. Hayes increased the bet. Ella in school. The tone, no education. "You are wasting your potential," he said. "Join my study and take you out of this city MIT full bag." Eli, semi-school. "You don't care about me, want my brain." Hayes didn't deny it. "Think about it," he said, leaving a contract. Eli tore him, but the word stayed. Would he waste his gift? The turning point came the night before the competition. Eli practiced when the auditorium lights blinked, plunging him into the darkness. A bang echoed behind the scenes. With his heart fired, he took the flashlight from his cell phone and advanced toward the sound. He found a listed chair and a figure fleeing down the way out. It was too dark to see who, but a glow caught his attention. A bottle of the resin used on the piano left behind. Eli kept him, the mind spinning. This was not just Tara or Vance. There was someone else involved. At home, he showed the bottle to Clara. Her nurse instincts fired. She recognized the chemist as a medical sticker traceable to the hospital supplier. "This is proof," he said, the voice shaking with anger. Eli nodded, but her focus was elsewhere. He had rewritten his composition, simplifying it to deal with the residual piano sticky. The piece was still his. Weird, challenging, but now it was a weapon. He would play, cost what it cost. While lying down, the forum exploded with a new post. A photo of Eli holding the bottle with the caption, "Cheer caught in the act." The post was anonymous, but the timing was no coincidence. Someone wanted to disqualify him before he even took the stage. On the morning of the competition, Willow Creek High was a barrel of gunpowder. The forum post had spread as fire, and the students whispered as Eli crossed the corridors. The competition organizers called for an emergency meeting, questioning Eli about the bottle. Clara was there, her record of incidents in hand, and did not contain himself. "My son is the victim here," he said, hitting the bottle on the table. "Test this. You will see that it suits sabotage." The organizers, cautious with a scandal, agreed to investigate but allowed Eli to appear, narrowly. Vance was furious, his composure cracking. He cornered Eli before the event, his voice. "Do you think you won, isn't it?" Eli sustained the look, impassive. "I don't touch you." Vance stepped out hard, but his threat hovered. Maya, watching from afar, sent a message to Eli. "Get smart. He's plotting something." Tara's reaction was quieter but no less intense. After the confrontation with Maya, she retracted, missing the rehearsals. At the competition site, she approached Eli, her red eyes. "It wasn't me who posted that picture," he said. "I'm very sorry." Eli studied her, inexpressive. "Then help me," he said. Tara hesitated, then nodded. It was not redemption, but it was a beginning. Dr. Hayes was in the audience, her presence a silent pressure. She had sent another email to Eli, offering clean her name if he joined the study. Eli ignored her, but her influence grew. Neurosync had contacted the school, insinuating a scholarship if it cooperates. The director, smelling money, pressed Clara to consider. Clara refused, but the wear was consuming her. The reporter, Dan, published his article hours before the competition. With the title, "The Vendetta of a Professor Against a Prodigy," she detailed Vance's history and Eli's suffering. The story went viral locally, and parents in the audience whispered on her. Vance's allies on the council ran to defend themselves, but the damage was done. The competition was no longer just about music. It was a public accounts. Eli felt the weight of all this while waiting behind the scenes. Her hands trembled, not nervous, but by the perception that her presentation would reverberate beyond the auditorium. "Maya gave you a note. You're not alone." He kept him in his pocket, anchoring. The piano, though clean, still seemed wrong under its fingers in warming. He would have to touch impeccably to compensate. When Tara took the stage first, her presentation was unstable, her confidence shaken. The audience applauded politely, but her mother's gaze said everything. Eli watched, his mind mapping his own piece. He didn't want to destroy Tara. "I wanted to transcend her, Vance, to all of them." But as he went to the stage, a security guard approached, holding a cell phone. "We need to talk about that bottle," he said. The security words were like a punch. Eli froze, his mind running through scenarios. Clara intervened, the voice firm. "He will introduce himself unless they have evidence." The security guard retreated, quoting a tip on the bottle. But the organizers, under pressure after the matter, let Eli proceed. Behind the scenes, Eli closed her eyes, visualizing the frac structure of her composition. This was not about Vance or the audience. It was about proving that he could double the world to his logic. Tara's apology has moved something in Eli. He weighs her not as an enemy but as a mirror, someone stuck with expectations. He approached her after her presentation, her low voice. "Your dynamics were good. Work on the transitions." Tara blinked, surprised by the kindness. It was not friendship, but it was understanding. Eli was learning to see beyond her own perspective, silent but monumental growth. Maya and Javier worked non-stop. They tracked the tip to a disposable cell phone, but Eli's photo with the bottle was taken from an angle that only someone behind the scenes could have. "It's an internal job," said Javier. Maya subscribed her eyes. "Vance has help. They could not prove it yet, but their discoveries have passed to Dan, whose second story was already on their way." Clara's strength was weakened. The hospital had cut her salary for lost shifts, and the lawyer warned that a lawsuit could speak them. But seeing Eli's determination rekindled his flame. She met again with Sarah, who suggested a collection campaign to fund the legal fees. Clara hesitated. Pride made it difficult, but agreed. The campaign was launched during the competition, gaining strength as Dan's story spread. Eli's presentation was at times away. He sat on the piano, the murmurs of the crowd a distant tinnitus. The keys still resisted slightly, but it had adjusted your piece to minimize the problem. When starting, the auditorium silenced. Its composition was not beautiful in the traditional sense. It was irregular, recursive, as a storm bending over itself. The audience was mesmerized, some leaning forward, others closing their eyes. Vance, in the front row, tightened the program, the pale face. Half. Eli felt a change. Music was no longer just mathematics. It was relief. He dumped his anger, his fear, his boldness on the keys. The crowd felt that too. A raw, unlipped energy that challenged explanations. Maya, recording aside, captured Hayes' expression. It was not admiration, but calculation. Hayes was already planning his next step. Eli ended under thunderous applause but did not recognize them. He got up, his chest panting, and left the stage. Clara was there, tears in her eyes. "You were unstoppable," he said. Eli nodded, but her mind was in the bottle. He knew the truth was close and he had not finished fighting. That night, Javier deciphered the disposable cell phone metadata. The photo was sent to the organizers by someone using the school's Wi-Fi during the office time in the office. It was not proof, but it was enough to face it. Eli, Maya, and Clara agreed. They would take the fight to Vance after the results of the competition. The results of the competition were hours away, but Eli's focus was elsewhere. He, Maya, and Clara gathered in the library, analyzing Javier's findings. Disposable phone activity pointed to Vance, but the angle of the photo suggested a second person behind the scenes. Maya suspected a janitor or counter, regret, someone who could manipulate. "We need a confession," he said. Eli nodded, his mind mapping the problem as an equation. "Let's arm a trap," he said. The plan was risky. Maya would leak a fake post on the forum saying that Eli had evidence against Vance, urging him to act. Javier would monitor the school network for an answer. Clara, in the meantime, mobilized support. The collection campaign had risen enough for an advance with Sarah, and parents demanded the suspension of Vance. The school council, cornered by public pressure, marked an emergency meeting after the competition. Dr. Hayes was not stopped. He approached Clara, offering the College of Eli in exchange for exclusive access to his mind. Clara's refusal was icy. "He is not guinea pig." Hayes gave a cold smile. "You'll regret it." His threat hovered, but Clara was fed up with intimidation. She shared Hayes' offer with Dan, which built a greater complaint about NeuroSync's ethics. Tara, dealing with the blame, became an unexpected ally. She approached Eli, offering witness to Vance's manipulation. "He said you used software to pretend it played," he admitted. Eli studied her, so he handed over a pen drive. He recorded him saying that. Tara's eyes widened, but she caught. Her arc moved from rival to redemption, her fragile but growing courage. Eli prepared for the results, knowing that the real battle was with Vance. He adjusted his composition, keeping a second version as a reserve. The sabotage of the piano had taught him to predict betrayals. On site, the crowd was electric, the impact of matter amplifying the bets. Vance was there, his forced charm, avoiding eye contact. Hayes sat at the bottom, the open notebook. Maya's fake post aired. "Eli has evidence that Vance sabotaged him. Loose tomorrow." In minutes, Javier captured an answer, an encrypted message from the school server sent to an unknown recipient. He said, "Solve it today." Eli's pulse accelerated. The trap worked, but the second player was still a shadow. As the judges deliberated, Eli heard a counter, regret Mike arguing with Vance behind the scenes. Mike's voice was low, urgently. "You said no one would get hurt." Eli frozen. Mike was not just an extra. He had sabotaged the piano. Eli sent a message to Maya, who, sneaking down to the backstage, her cell phone recording. The climax approached, and it wasn't just about music. The results of the competition were announced in a crowded auditorium. The palpable tension. Eli's composition first won a decision that drew applause and furious looks. Vance's face was a storm cloud, his allies on the council moving uncomfortable. Eli got up to receive the prize, the neutral expression. But inside, she prepared for the real struggle. Maya's trap in Quatera Vance and the net closed. Behind the scenes, Maya caught Mike putting a small device on the piano structure, a remote trigger for a new sabotage designed to lock the keys during a planned biz. She recorded, her firm hands despite her heart. Confronting Mike, he said, "I got you in the video. Speak, or go to the air." Mike, a thin man with tired eyes, gave in. "Vance paid me," he admitted. "I said it was just a joke." Maya didn't swallow. "Play? You incriminated Eli." Mike's silence was enough confession. Eli, in the meantime, faced Vance in the green room. Professor's charm disappears, replaced by poison. "Do you think you won?" Subillied. "You are an aberration, not musician." Eli did not win. "You're scared," he said, his voice calm. "I'm what you couldn't be." Vance advanced, but Tara came in, her cell phone recording. "Says what he said," his voice shaking. Vance froze, realizing that he was trapped. "You're nothing without me," he growled, but the fight abandoned him. The climax hit the peak when Maya erupted, playing Mike's confession to the room. The organizers, already nervous, called security. Vance's allies tried to intervene, but the crowd, inflamed by Dan's story, was turning around. Parents shouted for justice. Students sang the name of Eli. Clara, observing behind the scenes, felt an overwhelming pride. Eli not only won the competition, he had explained a system that prospered in cruelty. Dr. Hayes made one last move, approaching Eli while chaos unfolded. "This is your chance," he said. "Join me, and you will be untouchable." Eli looked at her, her decision clear. "I'm already untouchable," he said, moving away. Hayes's mask fell, revealing frustration. Neurosync bag escaped her fingers, and she knew that. The school council, under pressure, suspended Vance while waiting for an investigation. Mike was arrested, his confession implying Vance in several incidents. Tara's recording sealed fate. Vance's own words, admitting to manipulate Tara, were undeniable. The auditorium exploded when the news spread, a cathartic release to a city that had ignored its defects too long. Eli took the stage for the bis, the piano now clean. He touched his reserve composition, simpler, but no less powerful. The crowd silenced, then exploded again. This was not just music. It was bold triumph, a boy rewriting his story. Maya filmed, tears in her eyes. Clara held Sarah's hand, the collection campaign now a war cry. Tara watched on the side, her uncertain but lighter way. While Eli ended, a lone figure remained in the background. Dan, scribbling notes for his next article. The victory was sweet, but a shadow remained. Who had sent that encrypted message to Vance? The answer was out there, and it wasn't over. The weeks after the competition were a whirlwind. Vance was fired, his ownership not resisting the public revolt. Mike faced charges for vandalism, his denunciation agreement exposing the largest of Vance scheme, years aiming problematic students to maintain control. The humiliated school council implemented new supervision policies. Clara's collection campaign became a local movement, funding not only legal fees but scholarships for students like Tara. Eli returned to her routines but was changed. He still saw the world in numbers, but music had become a bridge, not a barrier. He began learning violin alone, applying the same logic that he had won the piano. Maya's complaint, published in the school newspaper, won a regional award, and she already hunted her next story. Tara took a test for a conservatory, her hottest touch, her mother's dominion loosening. She and Eli were not friends, but they exchanged a nod in the corridors, mutual respect. Clara found balance, her shift stabilizing with a hospital promotion. She framed Eli's medal, hanging her beside her weak sketches. Sarah, the lawyer, became a family friend. Her work for Bono a testimony of the power of the community. Dan's articles triggered a state investigation into school bullying, with Willow Creek as an epicenter. Dr. Hayes left the city, its agreement with NeuroSync collapsing without Eli. But his last email to him was cryptic: "You will need me one day." Eli deleted him, but the words stayed. He didn't trust her, but wondered if his mind was a gift or a target. The forum has quiet, the anonymous publishers disappearing as the school culture changed. Eli's video remained online, a silent legend. He didn't watch him, but Maya, yes, smiling at the boy who had turned mathematics into magic. Willow Creek was not perfect, but now he listened. Eli sat in her room one night, outlining a new fractal. He was inspired by his bis, his curves echoing the flow of music. He didn't know what he would come, but for the first time he wasn't afraid to find out. A year later, Eli was on the open day of MIT, a bag in hand. He had not joined the study of Hayes, but his video of the competition had drawn the attention of a teacher who saw his potential. Maya was there, camera in hand, documenting her journey. Clara watched, pride shining gently. In the dormitory, Eli kept a small piano, playing when the numbers were too high. Late at night, he found a new post on the forum, an old photo of him in Willow Creek with the caption, "He's just starting." The author was anonymous. Eli smiled. To look at. Eli's story is of resilience and boldness. Have you ever faced a challenge that forced you to rewrite your own narrative? Share your story with us, your triumphs, your stumbles, your unexpected victories. Join the conversation on the networks with Desafia Chances, and let's inspire each other to transform obstacles into opportunities. If Eli's journey touched you, spread the word. Post, tweet, tell a friend. Stories like his remind us that genius is not only in the mind, is in the courage to stay firm. What is your next step? The world wants to know. If you are enjoying our stories, subscribe to the channel, comment, and leave your like. Don't miss this story that is going on the screen. I'm sure you will like it. Until the next video.